Okay then guys, welcome back to another video. There's a different tone in this video. I want to get a few things across, but first I'll just mention if you want to get our course, life setup, framing, body language, marathon mindset, attracting women, etc. All the stuff I can't talk about really on YouTube. The link is below. You can do 5 monthly installments as well, £14 a month, so I've made it accessible to everyone. There's going to be something big coming off the back of Life Setup as well. So if you're in the course, I'll reveal it to you guys. It's a game changer for this industry. Never been seen before. Nothing even close to it. In terms of kind of men's groups, you know, everyone's got a men's group. We're doing something astronomical that I will only mention. I'm not trying to sell this to you either. I'm not trying to trick you guys. It's a Life Setup course. It's a Life Setup thing that we're doing. It makes so much sense to keep it in-house in that group. So I'm mentioning something in there soon, which is I think it's gonna change the game completely. No, like this industry has never seen anything like what we're trying to achieve here. It's yeah, it's groundbreaking. Like streaming platform still a massive thing for us, which is also linked below if you want to watch all the stuff on there. There's one show which is free. Streaming platform is massive, but what we're working on at the moment is just like, what the hell? Like when this comes together, you like the production quality we're doing right now as well. You guys are going to be blown away. I promise. Some of the videos lead up to it. Like this is like some proper, like billionaire takeover of a football club. It looks like that. Trust me. I had another meeting today about it for like an hour. It's huge. We got some serious players, like some of the biggest people in the UK that want to be involved. They want to at least meet with us. They want to talk with us. You wait. You guys are going to be blown away. You've never seen anything like this, so keep an eye on it. If you want to get our supplements, I think it's the best supplement ever in the men's industry. I've been in this industry a while. I've seen how rubbish most people's supplements are. I've cut 0 corners on it. You guys know the reviews, never had a bad one. Free shipping worldwide and 10% discount if you subscribe monthly, okay, which a lot of people are doing. Now, to the important part of this video, okay? And all those links are below, by the way. So, I want to talk about the brainwashing of men under 30. Now, I had a really nice call earlier with a woman who is, I guess she would describe herself as an orgasm coach, I think. Oh, that's on her YouTube. We're doing 2 separate documentaries together. She's going to be featured, okay? Lovely woman. And we got onto the topic of the men's industry and stuff. And I was really saying to her, one thing that I want to get back to is like tapping into why we all started to improve men's lives. And this is the one thing, you know, I spoke to you guys a second ago about the astronomical thing that's coming, the life setup thing. Like that's what that is. It's to change your lives. It's to give you something that is maybe 10 years away, that is maybe £4 million worth away for you right now, and we're going to be able to give it to you for basically nothing, okay? It's when this happens, you guys are going to just be like, shit, thanks, Chris. And this is what I want to get back to, is doing stuff like this for you guys. And this is why I wanted to make this video, because when we had that chat earlier, she really reminded me of like why I began. And where I was at a certain age, where I was at a certain time in my life. And I'm seeing young guys now, and I truly believe a lot of you have just been brainwashed by the media, by social media, I think women have been brainwashed too, and that's resulted in them brainwashing men by accident. It's not their fault. Like, they've just been told a certain narrative, they've been shown certain things in shows. They then create demands which most men can't keep up with. And this video is going to mainly focus on just the men's side of things and more mental health. And as I go through it, I don't care if this takes an hour and a half. We're all going to sit here and I'm just going to chat to you guys because this needs to be spoken about. Now, you know, a big contributor to male depression, men feeling sad, being down, just not being optimistic, is the way that the media is portraying the average man. How they're portraying them in movies, how they're being portrayed on social media. Like the world that we've created now, it gets people down. And the one thing that I had, and I think my greatest strength when I was young, when I had nothing, was optimism. I was able to look at stats and statistics. I was able to clearly, with a clear-eye view, just look around at the worlds surrounding me and go, oh, this is how I came up with the male advantage. I just looked around at the world. I literally just observed. I just looked at the world through optics. Okay, all the guys that seem to be doing, okay, right, great. Tick, tick, tick. Like I was able to figure the world out by just looking at it. And I'm seeing something now which is so disappointing, is that most young guys are disheartened. They don't realize what they have at their fingertips. When I was young, I was able to analyze all of this and see what was in front of me. And I could see the potential for my own life. You know, I recently made the video on my facial changes. You guys might have watched it. There was a time, and if you go back far enough, they're still on this channel, when I was making search hollow cheeks, first man hollow cheeks. There were videos years ago where I had a fat face and I was talking about hollow cheeks, and all the comments were, this guy's talking about it, but he doesn't have it. This is like, what a hypocrite. And I was like, but that's not the point. The point is I know how to do it, so I'm going to do it, and it's all going to come together. You know, the point about the male advantage was, oh, this guy's just coping. And I was like, yeah, but I know what to do. And I think knowing what to do and knowing what's the prize and what's in place is 99% of the battle. Put it this way. If you think you're good at sports, and I had this when I was young, I was like, I think I'm pretty good at football, but I don't know. I was like, I haven't played against everybody, the Brazilians, the whatnot. We went to... There's a few times in my life. I'll tell you one. We played against Aston Villa Academy, one of the best academies in the country, and everyone was saying to me at school, "You're going to get smashed. I bet they're going to be so good. They're going to be the best players in the country and whatnot. I bet they're amazing. You're probably going to lose 10-0." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe. Like these kids are going to be sick." We won 3-1. I scored 2 and assisted 1. We played against Swindon Town the following week. We won 4-1. I scored 1, assisted 2. And some of the coaches, Aston Villa coach wanted to sign me, but the distance was too much back then. They had a 90-minute rule. You couldn't travel too far from your school. And Swindon wanted to sign me, but they were changing coaches. And it was like validation. I went home that night and I was like, I'm good enough to play in the Premier League. I know Swindon weren't in the Premier League, but I think they were second division at the time and Aston Villa were Premier League. And I was like, I'm good enough to do this. Especially as my birthday was August the 28th. So I was like the youngest in the team. I was like, I'm good enough. I've got this. Like, I'm as good as the kids that are playing for Premier League academies. Like, I could make this. I had things happen throughout your life and whatnot. But it was validation. It's the same when I went sparring. I was like, oh, I'm not a million miles away here. That's the key. That is the fucking key. Write that down, guys. That just excited me because this is what I used to say to myself. And I still say it today. You guys know I do. When I do like stream platform stuff, I'm like, we're not a million miles away from Netflix. That's all I need to hear. That is all I need to hear on anything that I'm doing. We are not a million miles away from the top industry standards. You know, the camera that they use or used for Creed 3 and Top Gun Maverick was the Venice. Well, they're bringing out a camera called the Burano. Alex was telling me it's only 25 grand and it's pretty much going to be the same as the Venice but smaller. So straight away for 25 grand, we've got industry standards, the top standards level camera work. Now lighting will be different and whatnot, I get it, but you're using basically the same camera that Hollywood's using. We're not a million miles away from Netflix. Do you see what I mean? My whole life I've done this to myself. I've given myself hope. Now here's the point of the video. When I was younger, I looked into statistics. I looked at how much the average man was making. I looked at what the top 1% were earning. I looked at stats and figures, and people say, oh, you've got to be over 6 foot and all this stuff and whatever. And like, granted, I'm 6'2", but I would look at things like that and be like, it's such a small percentage of people. Like, all of these stats and figures, the top earning men, the top 1%, I was like, it's not that high. I'm not a million miles away. I'd always think that. I'd look at the top in-shape guys and I was like, naturally, I'm not a million miles away from that. Do you know what I mean? I'd always look at it and be like, I'm probably 5 or 6 years natural, 1 testosterone cycle or something of being away from like that guy who's at the top of the industry. I'd always rationalize stuff like that. you guys don't have that belief anymore. And I don't believe it's your fault, because I believe, if you're on a channel like this, you're watching a video like this, you probably are quite an ambitious, optimistic person. The modern man now, the youngest man, like 30 and under, I believe they've been brainwashed by the media. I think a lot of you believe that there's millions of 6 foot plus, handsome, in shape multi-millionaires walking around who are well dressed. And I'm telling you right now, they don't really exist. And do you know how this has come about? I think the media have brainwashed women. And look, this is an anti-women video, and I'm not blaming women. They've brainwashed both of us, but I think the media has brainwashed women. And we've seen, as much as I shit on these YouTubers and these podcasts and whatnot, and I say that they just unfairly call women out, I think they have highlighted one thing that you could not say isn't true, which is that women do, and look, I think men are in the same boat. I think we have a delusional mind, but I think women do definitely have a level of delusion that they didn't used to have. My mum's era didn't have this. My mum's era were like, he's a good guy. Whereas I think a lot of modern women now, because of the media and the way they've been brainwashed, films, movies, whatnot, they're developing crushes, or their reality is built off what they're watching or what they're seeing on social media. And it's like, that doesn't exist in the real world. That 6'5", handsome, in shape millionaire with the Ferrari doesn't exist. Yeah, I'm sure he exists somewhere in the world. Do you know what I mean? But you're not going to meet him. You just, how many of them are there? It just doesn't exist. And I know this because, like, I'm 6'2", I make more than $500,000 a year because the charts only go up to a certain amount. I'm not married, I don't have kids, and I'm in shape. But do you know that's like top 0.001% of men? Like, do you know how rare that is? Like, and I look in the mirror and I'm like, you're all right. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not blown away. I don't look in the mirror and go, that's Brad Pitt looking back at me. I see myself as a pretty normal guy. Like, not bad. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like, that still is like, it's like, put it this way, it's less than 0.1%. And that's not me tooting my own horn. That's just the statistics. There's not, like, this should be music to your ears. The fact that the majority of the world's population are obese. The fact that most guys don't even know what to do, number one. And when they figure out what to do, most guys still don't even do it. Like, think about it. I've got like 166,000 subscribers on here. How many are doing exactly what I'm telling them to do every single day? Probably a small portion. Around about 50,000 people watch every video, so we're already down to a third, right? And how many of those people every day are doing what I'm telling them to do? These are the people that have already chosen to be ambitious, that are searching for this content, and even they're not doing it. Right? You go to any like, there's such a delusion in modern young men that, like, you say to people now, you should come to the gym with me. Oh, but everyone's in shape. And you get to a gym and you're like, everyone's fat. Like, most people here aren't in shape. Most people are average. And if they're not fat, they're just kind of skinny. It's just like 3 16-year-olds walking around with terrible body language, just like that, looking nervous to be there, which I congratulate them on being there. Well done. You know, you got to build yourself up somehow. I always try and encourage these guys. But they come in like groups of 3s and 4s, and they're skinny as hell. And then you've got the older guys who come on their own who are fat. And it's just like, there's such a small pool of guys that you look at and you go, that guy's jacked. Fair play. You know, in any gym that you're ever in, and I'll take my own gym, like, let's use my own gym, right, as the case study here. I've lived in this area for about 2 years. I've probably been to the gym about 500 times in those 2 years. Apart from myself, I have never seen a single man approach a woman. And the reason I mention that is because, and also I've never seen a single woman approach a man. All right, the reason I'm mentioning these two weird facts, I think a lot of guys are like, they're watching movies and they're like, I'm not the Lothario confident guy who's going over and being like, hey, like, I don't think anybody's like that. I think there's barely anybody who's got that level of skill. Most guys have to get drunk to do it. And I think we got this delusion of like, I need to be perfect. I need to go over and say this one thing. And it's just like, where are you getting that from? Because I don't see anybody doing it. I don't see any like stud stood in the gym like you'd see in a movie, surrounded by 8 women, and they're all going like that, just looking up at him. Did anybody else see that? Because I haven't seen it. Most people in normal life are just getting on with their lives. Most guys are pretty normal, are pretty average. Even like some top level guy, a pretty just normal guy. Do you know the top 1% of earners in the UK? It's 183,000 and above. Like, granted, it's a lot of money. It's about 15,000 per month. It's not a million miles away for a lot of people. It's not a crazy lifestyle. It's not a jet. It's not even close to a jet. It's not even close to a yacht. If you went and got a supercar, you'd be in trouble for a little while. It's about half your year wage. If you were to pay monthly, you know, you're probably looking at like a fifth. You're probably looking at like a fifth of your wage plus your rent. Like, you're not in trouble, but you're probably going to be down to after tax like $5,000, $6,000 that you can actually spend on yourself. A lot of people go, that's a good life. Yeah, but it's not incredible. Do you know what I mean? If you're saving $6,000 a month, whatnot, like you're still looking at like 12 years to save up $1 million. Do you see what I mean, guys? That's the top 1% guys. There's a lot of delusion that's being created on YouTube as well, on social media in general. Like the roof, the ceiling for like, oh, I'm actually... Because I've had this myself. Like I was rising up, and I was like, it's not enough. I need more. You do an evaluation, you're like, I'm top 0.1%. What the fuck am I talking about? Now I'm ambitious. I want more. I want to keep pushing. Of course I do, but I want to do that for me. Like there comes a point, like how much further can you go? And I think there's so many guys out there that are like, I'm a loser. I'm on 30 grand a year. You know, I'm not in like crazy ripped shape. I don't have an 8-pack and massive pecs. You know, I'm low on confidence. It's like, you have no idea how high up the pecking order you actually are. Like, you're doing incredible, right? I encourage everybody to keep pushing, but I do think the media has created this just delusion, and it's overlapped into women. And I'll finish that point because I was missing that. I forgot to finish it, and I think you guys were probably waiting for it. But the podcast that I shit on and I say like, they're annoying, they have done a grand old job of exposing that delusion. You know, and I'm not doing this to shit on women, like I said, but we've all seen the clips, and these are undeniable. There's questionable stuff on other things, but these are undeniable. When they ask women, what percentage of men do you think are over 6 foot, millionaires, and in shape, between the ages of 20 and 50? And they're like, I'd say about 30, 40% of men. Like, we've all seen this, right? We don't need to go into detail and whatever. That level of delusion, how is that so different? Like, I'm telling you now, that guy is... And I know this for a fact because I've done the research. That man that I described is 0.001%. Like, he's less than 0.1%. Isn't that crazy? Like, people say top 1%. That guy is 0.1% and below, depending on a few other factors and whatever. And for women to say that's top 30, like, there's around 20, 30, 40% of guys that have that setup. Don't you think that's crazy? And I'm not blaming them at all. I'm blaming the media, what we've created, social media. You know, that the way that a lot of people are faking it, by the way, but everyone's kind of posting their best days. I think that's why when you post a video on something quite negative about yourself, or like, I think Jack posted a video recently about my first rejection that changed me. And as far as I could see at the time, it was doing really well with the views. People like that stuff because it humanizes you. But I think on social media, a lot of people have pumped themselves up. You know, a lot of people are getting themselves in flattering light, flattering angles, faking how much money they make by just turning it into dollars, you know, or doubling what they make. How can you prove it? If I was making 20k per month and I told you guys I was making 40, like, how can you prove it? It's roughly the same lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's easy enough to do. So I think a lot of that is circulated into female minds, which has then given them this delusion of, I can get a guy 6 foot, 6 figures, 6 inches. And it's like, It's really rare, you know. It's really rare. Like that's a top 1%, man. It's really rare. Like, are you sure? Do you know what I mean? If you looked into this, and we've all seen the podcast, like I said, and it's shined light on it, where the women have gone, oh, damn, I didn't know that. And this is why I don't blame them. Because something's happened. I don't know whether it's these series, these movies, that social media in general, but it frames it as if there's millions of these guys walking around everywhere. And like I said, let's go back to the gym. I don't see any guys getting approached. Apart from myself, in the last 2 years, I have not seen a single other guy approach a woman. And when I do it, like, I'm not saying this for any particular reason, but when I do it, I notice guys just stop and stare. They watch. Because it's almost like, fuck me, this guy's inventing fire. I'd be way too scared to do that. Like, people don't do it. In London, I saw it a couple times, Toronto and stuff like that, but like, you're talking about cities with 10 million people, and you still don't see it. And I just think men are putting too much pressure on themselves, and this is where a lot of like mental health issues are coming from. But to shine a positive light on that, and I'll jump back to the gym stuff in a minute, but I just want to get this point across, so I keep reiterating it throughout. Guys are under 30 are losing optimism. I've always said to you guys, it's my greatest strength. When everyone was saying, oh, cope, I didn't care. I was like, I've done the figures. I know where this is at. Our latest idea that we're trying to do, we're basing it off something else that's happened before. And me and my friend are sat there, and he's an ambitious guy, $250,000 per month, like at 28. Guy's a killer. And he's optimistic too. And he's like, we can do this easy. He was like, you'd be surprised how cheap that actually is. This is the mindset we have. This is why we've done well in life. But a lot of people just see these giant hurdles, and I could never be as good as that guy. And you're like, buddy, it's not a million miles away. I'm telling you, it's a lot easier than you think. And I think that disheartening of men is the real destruction of men, especially under 30 years old. That lack of optimism, just disheartened about, oh, I'm not 6 foot tall. It's like, you have no idea how low the bar is. And it's getting lower every single year. Yeah, there's a gap opening up. The top 1% are just cruising forwards and everyone else is dropping behind. But that bar, the average bar, is lower than it's ever been. And I'm not talking about just attracting women and stuff like that. I'm talking about, like, in general, just passion for life. I'm talking about lifestyle, drive, going to the gym, you know, getting up early, reading books, learning languages. Like, the average guy now is so lazy you could not imagine. Guy's so lazy. It's ridiculous. Oh, sorry, guys. It's just absolutely ridiculous how lazy the average guy is now. I'm just checking my emails. Apologies. It's like, it's effortless. I wish I could get that across to you guys. I wish, like, I've shown you figures before, but trying to get that across is crazy. I've got so many notes on here that I want to go through, and I keep forgetting. I'll just read out some statistics. 63% of men under 30 are single. The guys who aren't have either met their girlfriend one of 4 ways. Right? So there's a lot of young guys that are like, oh, I'm single, nobody wants me and stuff like that. They're getting down and all this stuff. 63% of men under 30 are single. Okay, it's a vast majority. And the only guys that aren't, I truly believe, 1 in 4 situations. Now, there's outliers to the rule. There's the top level guys. But number 1, dating app after 200 rejections and failed talking stages. Do you want that? You know, do you want to sit there time after time? No. Oh, she ignored me. She didn't show up. Like, that's not a nice situation for that guy. He's just jumped through as many hoops as he could until somebody said, yeah. It's not a great situation. So you look at him with his beautiful girl and you're like, oh, I wish that... He's gone through absolute hell to achieve that, right? Number 2, they met at school or via a friendship group. 3, they met at work. Kind of have to be together. Number 4, they met drunk at a nightclub. So the point I'm making here, why am I telling you this? Because you think, young guy watching this, you think these guys are walking down the street alone and sparking up an intelligent conversation. They're like Hitch. They're coming up with a strategy. They're sharp. They're artistic. Do you know what I mean? They've got the silver tongue. No. Like, they're just not doing that. It's like one of those 4 scenarios. Most guys are petrified of their own shadow and they just got lucky once. It was just the right time. Oh, she's just been through a toxic relationship. She's looking for a nice guy. It's a lot of the situations. But guys under 30, 63% are single. Right, and there's guys out here that are getting depressed. They're getting down. They've got no optimism. When I was at my absolute worst, I was telling you guys, male advantage is coming. I'm putting the work in. You watch where I take this. I'm going to the very top. And it's like, today I'm in a situation where I'm probably 1 or 2 steps away from having everything I ever wanted. Like everything I ever dreamt of. And I'm going to have to come up with new goals and new dreams. It's, 5 years? Within 5 years, I've gone from just under average, just under the middle of the pack, like not doing great at all, to probably, I know I'm in a certain percentage that's high up, like I described. I don't want to go into detail. But if I pull off these next 2 steps, it's just, I was saying to my friend the other day, the 28-year-old who makes $250,000 a month, I was just like, statistically, we don't exist. I was like, when you do the maths, I was like, it's like 1 in every 10,000. I was like, you just don't exist. You're not going to come across that person. You know, it might even be more than that, but like it's like 1 in 10,000 roughly. You're just not going to come across that person. Like on an average day, you're just not going to come across them. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I just find that crazy because we haven't done anything too special. We weren't born special. We've put in a little bit of work and we all count. Like, here's the thing. My friend that I'm talking about there, Rob Lipsat, we've all spoken, we've all had conversations organically about the same thing. When me and Rob did the interview, which you can see linked below, the Male Advantage Journey on the stream platform, Rob's one, it's free to watch, you can watch it now. And I think Rob actually says in that interview, he was like, have you looked at the statistics? He was like, the top 1% of men, he's like, it's not even that hard to achieve. And I was like, thank you. And this is what all the top level guys did. And I think what's happening to you guys in this era now is you're being discouraged early on. And that's the worst thing, because the only thing I had in the early days was optimism, was belief, was hope. Just sat there thinking, I think I can be better. I think the male advantage is real. Hey, turns out I was right. Great. But all these top level guys, all the guys that have made something of themselves, started where you are now, and they just went, oh, it's not that hard. I'm not a million miles away from that. Top 1% is 183,000 a year. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but shit, I feel like I could do that. And then they start doing the maths. They divide it down. So I just have to make how much per day? These are the guys that end up going, ooh, I could do this. That's been stripped away from all of you young guys now. And it's so disappointing. I don't know whether it's a result of a fatherless generation, which we're doing a documentary on, and I've got some ridiculous stats on that. Ridiculous. It's so sad. I might actually read through them now. Listen to this, guys. This is probably a big reason as to why a lot of young guys are just feeling terrible about themselves. 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes. 90% of all homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes. 85% of youths in prison are from fatherless homes. Oh, that's awful. 71% of high school dropouts come from fatherless homes. 85% of children who exhibit behavioral issues come from fatherless homes. 71% of pregnant teenagers don't have a father in place. Fatherless children are twice as likely to drop out of high school, twice as likely to end up in jail, and 4 times as likely to need help for emotional and behavioral issues. How bad is that, guys? Not having a father in the home, I think, is causing a lot of this delusion as well. Because I would, there was times when my dad would set me straight. I love my mum to pieces, and she's got millions and millions of talents, and she's one of the greatest people that's ever existed on this planet. But there's one thing that your dad can do that your mum can't, is tell you to kind of shut the fuck up. Like, what are you talking about? You're as good as them. That kind of masculine attitude. I think that's what a lot of young guys have lacked. Any football pitch I went on, my dad was like, don't back down. You're as good as any of them on here. Just outwork them. They might have a good 20, 30 minutes. He was like, keep going. It's a 90-minute game. You just outwork them. Don't shy away. Don't back down. Don't be scared. Get stuck in from let them know that you're there. First tackle of the game. Smash into them. It was that attitude. It was that competitive attitude of, oh, what, top 1% is that? I could do top 1%. I could get there. Oh, that guy's in shape. Well, what's he done? Oh, he gets up early, he goes to the gym for an hour, he eats clean and he sleeps early. Drinks a lot of water. Well, I could do that. Why can't I do that? Do you know what I mean? It was that sort of system in my head, and it was ingrained from my dad. I think based on those figures that we saw, a lot of you are grown up without father figures, older brothers, whatever, without a dad in the home. And I think the media's got a hold of you. I think it's tricked you. I think that's why this type of content is so addictive to you. I think this is why people like Conor McGregor are so addictive to you. Andrew Tate, you watch videos and you're like, oh my God, because it's like, I've never heard somebody speak like that before. I think this is what's affected so many young men in this generation, 30 and under. They've been brainwashed. They think they're not good enough. They think they're a million miles away. They could never do it. It's really bad. We need that optimism back. And like I said, here's a test for you guys. I want you to deploy this in your own lives. Stop whenever you feel like shit, and whenever you like have a judgment, oh, I'm not good enough, whatever. Stop and just look around at the world. Just next time you're in the gym, analyze. I was supposed to go back to that gym comment. Put it this way, I said, guys who are actually, this is crazy. It's almost an oxymoron. Guys who are in shape in my gym, maybe 5%. Like I'm talking, okay, that guy's jacked, he's lean, he's big, maybe like 5%. And that's a gym. That's where people should be jacked and in shape. And it's like 5%. It's like 50% overweight and obese. It's just normal. It's what people do. Okay. So take that 5% of guys. How many of those have got a Ferrari in the car park? The best I've seen a G-Wagon and an Aston Martin in the car park of our gym. I've been going for like 2 years. That's the best I've seen. You look around at all the cars and you're like, and look, this isn't me shitting on people. I'm looking at all the cars and I'm like, pretty average cars, pretty bog standard. Cars that anybody could afford. Do you know what I mean? The average wage in, like, you can translate this to America as well. I'm just using UK because I live here. I know it better. The average wage for a man in the UK is $32,000 a year. You divide that down, it's about $2,600 per month. You minus tax, national insurance, pension payments, and whatever. You know, things that are just standards like food bills, electricity, utilities, Wi-Fi, whatever, phone bill. You're looking at like, at most, best case scenario, this guy having like $1,500 per month to spare. Let's say 1.8. This guy's got $1,800 to spare every single month. If his rent's like £1,000, he's got £800 per month to spend on a lifestyle. There's not a lot you can do with that. Do you know what I mean? And again, that's not me shitting on that money and that lifestyle. It's good money. It gets you through life. You can do stuff with it. But if that's the average wage, what I'm telling you guys is there's going to be a lot of people, like even the people that are above that are going to be in and around that range. And then you go into a higher tax bracket anyway once you get to around about 40-something thousand. I think it might be 45,000. So it's just like people don't have a lot available anyway. It's like, I would say 70 to 80% of guys just don't really have enough money to take more than 2 holidays a year. Don't really have enough money to... They're probably saving about £1,000 per month. Like, I don't know where this delusion's come from of like, oh, this guy's better than me, he's a winner. A lot of this stuff's fake. Like, when you get away from social media, when you realize that, oh, these top dogs, these winners, these guys that are driving Ferraris and Lambos, whatever, when you realize, oh, actually, I can count all of them on about 4 hands. You know, if you got your friend's hands and you count them all up, you probably get to like 18, 19, and then you'd be like, oh yeah, there's not really any more. Like, there's barely any in society, and that's a very unique job. Take out sports people, athletes, actors, and just leave normal human beings. There's barely any. Okay, and then you look at, like I said, the average wage of the average guy. So you've got this delusion where you're thinking everybody's doing this certain level of life and they're living this and you're not doing well and whatnot. And you're like, in reality, I'm probably like £400 a month away from that guy. Or in reality, as I found out when I was growing up, oh, they're all making £2,500 a month or £2,000 a month, and they've got cars on finance. I was like, that's why they look like ballers. They're renting, they got a car on finance, they've got a watch on finance, and they've got like £300 spare a month. And I was like, shit. Oh, they're taking loans and stuff like that. Like, if something appears a certain way, it probably is. And this is my greatest strength as a guy who's 31 years old, who grew up with like VHS tapes, who grew up with, you know, the early stages of the internet, but the internet didn't exist when I was born. And at least in the fashion, do you know what I mean? I was born in 1992. So, we're like, a lot of this stuff I saw evolve, I saw it happen. I grew up in a place where it was slow to react to stuff as well. So I saw a lot of this stuff come together. And in my mind, I make decisions in this world based on logic, practicality, and optics. You know, what do they say? Believe nothing of what you hear and only half of what you see. I pretty much live by that. I question stuff. I look at it and I'm like, you're telling me this, but that can't be true. Do you know what I mean? It's like if I was a guy today who was 22 years old and I was down, I was like, everyone's better than me, I'm out of shape, I'm this, that, whatever. I would just look around and be like, oh, wait, what am I worried about? I'm so close to the top. This isn't that far away. Like, me and Alex, who films all the stream platform projects, I feel like I say that every video now. We were talking before about, like, if you're a guy who's in even half decent shape, and you put on like a tank top, vest, short sleeve t-shirt, shorts, whatnot, and you look semi-jacked in summer, and, you know, maybe you got a bit of a tan, you walk down the street, and if you actually analyze it, you're like, oh yeah, like there is just nobody. Like the amount of looks if you're just walking down the street with a tank top on and you think you're in okay shape, like guys will be looking at you, girls will be looking at you, most people are old. Do you know what I mean? Like, in Europe in general, we've got an aging population. America's got an aging population minus immigration. Like, there's not many places in the world where it's like, oh, there's loads of young people and everyone looks great. Like, the majority of people don't look that great. And all you have to do is walk down the street and you go, I'm actually doing really well. Yeah, and I just think we've lost that in this era. And they'll always be ambitious, always push yourself. But that delusion that's been created by the media, the removal of optimism, the removal of belief that it's not a million miles away, that you're actually a lot closer than you think. That's what, you look at any of us, you look at anybody in this industry, any of your favorite fitness YouTubers, anybody who's driving like a supercar or whatnot, it's like they haven't done anything that you couldn't do yourself. A lot of it was good timing. Me and my friend today, we were talking about the guy who started Gymshark. And I think he was saying under 30, he's the only self-made billionaire that's left on the list. And we were like, fair play to him, well done, like there's no hate there, but we were just like, it's good timing because he's not really done anything that special. Like he's obviously made great decisions along the way and nobody else has done it, but the timing was just perfect. Gym culture was popping off, which, you know, could be the skill in itself, but even him as a billionaire, you're like, it's not a million miles away from what other people have done. Like, it's just, sometimes it's just good timing, a little bit of luck, and, you know, the right judgment. You met the right person at the right time. I think people see it as just like this impossible task. I can never achieve that. You know, I don't belong there. Like, where's your optimism gone? Because I just weigh it up and I used to just make notes. I used to do statistics. I used to draw it all up and I used to go, that's not that difficult. If I just get in shape, I jump to the top 20, 15% already. Okay, well, I'll just do that then. Do you know what I mean? It was like a practical way to break the world down because I was from a different era. I was from the era where if somebody said to me, he's quicker than you at running, I was like, well, race me then. Oh, and I won. Oh, he's tougher than you. Well, fight me then. Oh, and you're not tougher than me. You're a fanny. You know, and it was stuff like, oh, he's the best footballer in the town. And I was like, well, we'll see when we play each other. Oh, and turns out he's shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, he got exposed. I love doing that. I used to love doing that. When I was playing sports and stuff, just exposing people, being like, you're not as good as you said you were. You talked a good game, but you didn't really have it. I thrive on that. It's competition. I think a lot of you guys have lost that. But because I grew up with that idea in my head, when I see, oh, top 1%, when I see, oh, that guy's in great shape, I'm just like, well, let's see if I can do it too. Let's just see if I'm doing the same system as him. Why would I not get the same results? I think a lot of you guys have lost that, and it's a real shame. Like I said, you got this delusion of like every guy is 6'5", Lothario walking around with a 12-inch penis, abs. Do you know what I mean? It's like I think they say that 1% of guys, like if you get 100 guys, one might have visible abs. It's like 1% of men have visible abs. That's nuts. Like visible abs. I'm talking without tensing. It's just, there's such rarities. But we see one of those guys and we're like, oh, it's all right for some guys. It's so rare, it's ridiculous. And like I said, this narrative has been fed to women and it's overlapped into men. And a lot of you guys are believing it. And this is why I think it's so important for young men to wait to settle down, because you are swimming against the tide right now. You are swimming against the world of delusion. It's getting you down. It's whatever. Focus on you. Focus on the gym. Focus on success. Build something great for yourself. Because I promise you, once you get to my age, 31 and older, let's say you're 37, let's say you're dating a 27-year-old woman who's figured the world out for herself. She's an intelligent individual. She now goes, okay, that isn't realistic. That is impossible standards. Yes, this is what I want. I am going to compromise a little bit more. I know that I have to be more forgiving. You're going to have proper rational conversations with each other. It's going to be completely different. And you're going to go, okay, this is a lot easier. I'm going with the grain. Before I was swimming against the tide, it was so difficult. And I just think under 30 is difficult, but under 25 has just become something different now. It wasn't like this when I was growing up. When I was growing up, it was just, I grew up in a small town where there was no ambition and stuff like that, but I could still see it. I could still see my route clearly. And I just don't think a lot of you guys can see it anymore. I don't think the ladder's being passed down by a lot of people like it used to either, but I don't think a lot of you guys realize how close you actually are. Like, you're probably 20 sales books, a 20% increase in confidence, and like 6 months of experience away from making $5,000 a month in a sales job. Do you know what I mean? Which puts you like, wow, like that blasts you up. You're really high up. And you're probably, because the base wage will bump up. You're probably like 3 years off the back of that, away from like $8,000 a month, which is crazy money. Like, what's that put you? That puts you in 6 figures a year. Like, you're like I said, you're like 20 sales books away from that. One course that you've taken on sales, 6 months of experience. Like, you're not that far away. It's just a few decisions in your life that you need to take where you go, that was a game changer for me. By doing that one thing, it changed everything. Like, it's really not that far away. And people ask me today, like, oh, how do I start a YouTube channel and grow? And I'm like, well, I didn't know when I did it. I just sat in front of a microphone and did exactly what I'm doing here today. I just spoke and I became better at it. I became more confident. I became more relaxed. I just spoke. I didn't come up with catchy thumbnails or titles. I still don't today. I just come up with an idea. I don't come up with a snazzy title. I just write that idea in the title. I release it. People resonate with it. Some people hate it. Some people don't want to get on board with it, whatever. But some people resonate with it and it grows. And people go, do you know what? You're speaking a lot of sense. You're speaking a lot of truth. Like I said, I was never a million miles away from having something great. And you're not either. Like, it's so close for you. Like, I'll just put this into context, okay? Certain things I've written down. So this is what I did. Recently, I wrote all this down. I looked into it and I was like, this is crazy. But I'm 6'2", which puts me in the top 6% globally of height. I think that was the US. I think top 6% in the US. I think when you do globally, I think you go up a bit higher. Either way, it's high up. It's high enough. 500k plus per year puts me in the top 0.1%. I mean, it's nuts already. If you're in shape, you're in the top 1%, because 1% of men have visible abs. A bit of muscle as well. Like, it probably puts you even higher. Not married, 63% of men. Doesn't have kids, 55% of men. You combine all that together, and like I said, it's like less than 0.1%. There's a few things on there you can't change. Right, 6'2", you can't change if you're short. In shape, you can change. 500k plus per year. Yeah, not everyone's going to get to that point. But I'm just saying, like, that's just 5 things on a list, and it makes you basically invisible. Like, it's 5 things. And you could probably even take off not married, doesn't have kids, and still be like 0.01%. So 3 things can put you into 3 things can make you practically the invisible man. you don't exist on planet Earth. Like, that's how easy this possibly could be. Like, we've got it in our heads that there's just like superstars everywhere. Everyone's walking around jacked, tall, handsome. It's like, just stop for a second, get outside of your own head and get in the real world. Instead of sitting on social media or dating apps and being like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. Oh, another rejection. Oh, she's ignored me. Oh, she doesn't want to meet. I've DM'd this girl and she's ignored me. She's told me to fuck off and all this shit. It's just like, just get out in the real world and walk around. Just have a look. Just see what's going on. Changes your mindset immediately. So, a couple of things I wrote down on here and I just want to read through them, 3 paragraphs. I said, my point is, this online duality world is messing with people's heads. The perception of reality doesn't match what is actually going on out here. The media and social media has done one thing that is messing both men and women up with the same notion. Both men and women believe there's millions of 6 foot plus confident in shape millionaires, and there's just not. It's not even close. I'm seeing a lot of young men getting disheartened when the reality is the game in which you're involved has lost its mind, and the real game doesn't start for another 10 years when both men and women are unplugged. This is what I want for you guys. It's probably a good note to end on, but I just want to finish off on this. I want you guys to see this clearly, the way I did. Like, every successful guy I've ever met, like I said, had the same thing. They're like, that's why I do these male advantage journeys, because all of them are just like, I realized as long as I just got in shape, chased this dream, showed up here, most people weren't doing this. There's an old story of Mark Cuban when I think he was doing, when Yahoo bought his company, didn't they? Yahoo bought, it was like Netflix in the early days. He was like the first streaming service for like live sports events. He did the Victoria's Secret show. And in the early days of that, he was buying all the books, all the magazines, and he was just like, what's going on with the technology? What's going on in the world? I need to be at all the conferences. People are competing. Like, this is a vicious industry. Really competitive. And it's in in his book on how to become successful. And he said when he got to these conventions, he'd meet these people and he'd be like, have you read the book on, have you seen this information? Have you seen the new technologies come out? And they were all like, no. Like, this is the world that we're in. This is what you're dealing with. You know, you like at the top with absolute winners, it's competitive, but there's just not enough of them for it to matter. And that's not me telling you to be lazy. That's not me telling you, hey, slack off. You can be just good enough and it'll be fine. I'm just telling you, as I told you at the start, you're not a million miles away from everything you ever wanted. This delusion that's been created in the minds of women that's overlapped into the minds of men, that 30% of men are 6 foot tall with abs and millionaires and they're jacked and that doesn't exist. It's created this false narrative in the world. This delusion that's been created in men that there's chads everywhere and everyone's an alpha and I'm just this little beta, skinny little guy. It's like pretty much everybody is at that level. You know, you walk around the street next time. I want you guys to wake up early tomorrow, go out, go for a walk. You know, if you start work at 9, just be on the street for like 7:30. Just have a little stroll around, have a look. If you can't do that, go out at lunch. If you work from home, just go out on the street and have a walk around. Just go and get a coffee or something. Start using your optics. It doesn't mean judge people, but like take stuff in. Look. Oh, there's a guy in his 40s. He's getting out of Fiat Punto. Yeah, because life's tough. Do you know what I mean? Oh, there's a guy over there who's just wearing jogging bottoms, a hoodie and trainers and whatnot. I think he should dress better. Agreed. But life's tough. Does he have the money? We don't know what he's going through. Everyone's going through stuff. Very few people have savings. I think there's statistics which is the average person has about 1,500 in the bank at any given point. Like, it's eclipsable, if that's even a word. It should be. Within a month. Like, if you just save for 2 months and you have really low bills, you're ahead of like 90% of the world's population. You're already doing great. You know, if you can just get your wage up to like 40,000 per year, you can put like 10 grand in the bank, you can get in shape, you're already like top 5%. And I think if we destroy that optimism and we make the finishing line look as though it's 17 miles away, people are never going to start. They're never going to try. If we let this delusional world continue And we have people thinking that everybody is a 6'5" super athlete with a giant dick and 10 million in the bank, and the false narrative of everybody's rich. I've only entertained the idea of getting a supercar in the last few months, just because I've always wanted one, and I definitely think it would. I definitely think it would kind of fit the image that I've created for myself now. I've been able to afford one for about 4 years. I've just put it into other stuff, into other business stuff. But there's the majority of people now who actually get up to a certain level. They're like, oh, I want to flaunt. I want to buy stuff. I want to, like I said to you guys in a previous video, HS Tiki Toki. I actually feel sorry for the guy now because he got taken down the same path. He made about 30 grand. It was about 30 or 60 grand. He sold a course, he made a quick bit of money, a few club appearances, whatever. I think in total he probably had about 80,000 saved up. Travelled the world, enjoyed himself, spent all this money, bought a Lamborghini somehow. I think a brand paid for it and he was paying monthly or something like that. They were just using him as leverage. He made a video recently saying, I'm broke, I've got nothing left. I was faking all of this stuff for so long. How many guys watched his videos and went, oh, I wish that was my life, wish I was doing better, I feel so bad, this guy's rich, in shape, travelling around the world, sleeping with all these beautiful women, we're so far away from this, what are we doing with our lives? Now that's kind of good in a way because it makes you more ambitious, it pushes you, but when you realise that guy was faking the whole thing, you go, oh, again, it's not a million miles away, it's not, you don't have to do a lot to get to that level. A lot of people are faking it. What you think is like top level, this guy, these Forex traders online that are claiming they're making like 4 million a year and they're living in Dubai, there's probably something behind it. It's probably 8 guys all sleeping on single beds in the same apartment, all paying 500 per month. Like, do you know how many guys in London, like 3 of them living in the same house, all paying 2 grand a month each to live in a 6 grand apartment that looks absolutely baller? And you're like, damn, this guy's killing it. The sidemen did it for years. Now they've all got money and whatever, but they'd all live in the same house and just split the rent. Like, life is way tougher than what you'd imagine in terms of finances. You know, what you can afford, the life you can actually have. The image that people are presenting to you online and that the world wants you to believe, everyone's life is perfect. Mine's rubbish. Every guy, you know, has a perfectly hard dick every time he goes to have sex. It's like, that guy over there, I'm thinking of somebody right now. There was a guy in this town when I first moved in. He was with the hottest girl in the area, like a supermodel looking girl. It was getting ED. He was getting erectile dysfunction problems. They split up. Just couldn't get hard. Low testosterone, just felt bad. Really handsome guy, in shape, whatever. Just, it's not really working. Everyone's got issues. Like what people present on the surface, and my old boss said this to me once. I was like, this company looks huge, we should really work with them. And he was like, mate, listen to me. Everything's perception. He was like, analyze properly, really break things down, look at things for what they are, not what they perceived as, or what they're shown to you as. It's almost like a magician. Everyone's showing you that hand, but the shit's going on in the other hand. This guy, you'd be like, oh, he's got the perfect life. Then they break up, and you go, what happened? Oh, his dick didn't work. You're like, oh, God, well, mine does. Do you know, you're like, well, God, I thought I had problems. He's got this beautiful 10, his dick doesn't even work. Like, you just don't know what people are going through. You just, like, you have no idea. Like, here's this super guy who... And then also turns out, oh, he got fired from his job and he had a terrible job and stuff like that. And he was kind of like trying to keep up with the Joneses to impress her. Do you know what I mean? So like, even from that woman's perspective, oh, I'm with this real handsome rugby playing guy. He's jacked. He's got all this money. He's buying me this and that. He's taking me around the world. He's in his overdraft. So he's not revealing that to her. So she's got this perception of, oh, any guy can do it. He told me he's making 6 figures a year. He might be on like 38,000. He's just faking it. Do you see what I mean? And this is the problem now. Nobody's being genuine. Online, everyone's faking this stuff. It's very easy to do. I made a video on this on my course recently. I broke down how easy it would actually be to ball on a budget and fake all this stuff and whatnot. A lot of guys are doing this. Because they've realised, oh, actually, do you know what I mean? Like, I can pull this off if I just do this, this, and this. You ever heard that saying, 30 grand's millionaire? Guys who've got 30 grand in the bank, and it looks like they're a millionaire. because you pay for 2 or 3 things on finance. You drop 2 or 3,000 every now and then. You get your wages topped up every month. You can look like a baller. Do you know why? Let's say you get paid 3-4 grand a month. You could spend the whole lot right down to zero. So 4 down to zero, 4 down to zero, £1,000 a week. You look like a baller. You've just got 30 grand in savings just sat there. It's not doing anything. It's not going up. It's not going down. It's just there as like a blanket. It's almost like you're hitting zero, but your zero is 30, and they're just going 4 grand, 4 grand, 4 grand every single month. You're looking at that and going, that guy's taking 6 holidays this month. Oh my God. And it's just like, yeah, but he's not going anywhere in life. He has 2 kids, and suddenly that 30 starts coming down and everything's a problem. One thing you need to look out for in life, guys, is sustainability. If you see somebody living a certain lifestyle for a long time, take advice from that person. If they've 10 years at the top of the game and they're doing it consistently and they're sticking to these habits and you actually see them getting better, you know, there's guys talking about, oh, in shape and stuff. It's just like, you're actually looking worse than you did when you first began. You know, you've got all these coaches, but you're still rubbish at everything. I don't understand that. Do you know what I mean? You talk about like how many women you get, but we always see you with women with fake lips who look like just any normal girl that you could pull off the street. You truth be told, they look like escorts. You know, so like you'll hear something, somebody will keep telling you something, like the school bully. I had this when I was growing up. Don't fight him, he's the toughest kid in school. Don't fight him, he's the toughest kid in school. And then I got to an age where I was like, but is he? I was like, has anybody actually fought him? Or is nobody fighting him because he's the toughest kid in school? That's what we've been told. I was like, is he actually tough? Yeah, he's really tough. I saw one time, and it's like, well, I haven't seen it. So one day, the school bully's bullying my friend. I jump on his back, put him in a headlock, put him to sleep. He's double my size. And I was like, he's not tough. Kids are funny, truth be told. There's a lot of that in life. That's what you're dealing with right now. Challenge everything, test everything, write it all down. Be like, that guy at the top, I could do that. He's not a million miles away. Do these statistics yourself. I promise you, it's the most optimism you will ever receive in your life. Writing it all down, writing down what you have, splitting the difference, and going, do you know what, Chris? I'm not a million miles away.